May 8, 1945, 11:47 a.m., somewhere in northern Germany. The war ends at exactly this moment. VE Day, victory in Europe. But for 21-year-old Helga Becker, sitting in the back of a British transport truck with 15 other German women, the war ended 3 days ago when her signals unit stopped receiving orders and their commanding officer quietly burned all the documents. Now she's being transported west, away from the Soviet advance, into British custody. And she's trying very hard not to throw up from sheer terror. The propaganda had been crystal clear about what happened to German women captured by the Allies. The images were explicit. The warnings were dire. Helga has spent 3 days expecting the worst. The truck lurches to a stop. Canvas flap pulls back. Afternoon light streams in. "All right, ladies. Out you come. Carefully, please." The voice is male, British accent, but the tone, that's what catches Helga off guard. Not harsh, not threatening, almost considerate. She climbs down, her legs unsteady. The other women follow. They're at some kind of temporary facility. Tents, vehicles, organized chaos of a military operation in the immediate aftermath of surrender. And standing in formation, waiting to process them, are British soldiers. Helga has been preparing herself for this moment, for the brutality, for the violence, for everything the Reich promised would happen. What she sees instead makes her mind go completely blank. The soldiers are clean, uniforms that fit properly, equipment that looks new, maintained, abundant. And their faces, they look tired, but not cruel. Professional, but not hostile. The sergeant at the front, maybe 35 with gray at his temples, steps forward. "I'm Sergeant Williams. You're now under British military custody. You'll be processed, given medical examinations, assigned to holding facilities until repatriation can be arranged. You'll be treated according to Geneva Convention standards. Does anyone speak English?" One of the women, Ilse, former administrative clerk, raises her hand hesitantly. "Some. I speak some." "Good. You'll translate. First, does anyone need immediate medical attention?" The question is so unexpected that nobody responds at first. Medical attention? For prisoners? But then Helga notices something that makes her breath catch. One of the younger guards, maybe 23 or 24, is looking at the German women not with hatred or contempt, but with something that looks like concern? His eyes scan the group, assessing their condition with what appears to be genuine worry. When his gaze reaches Helga, their eyes meet for just a second. And something happens that she is completely unprepared for. Her heart does something strange. A flutter, a skip, something that has nothing to do with fear and everything to do with a feeling she doesn't have words for. This can't be happening. This can't possibly be happening. She tears her gaze away, staring at the ground, trying to control her breathing. Behind her, another prisoner, Greta, who'd served in the same signals unit, whispers in German, "Did you see them? They're not." "Not what?" "Not what we were told." Number. They absolutely are not what they were told. If you want to hear untold stories from World War II, stories about the moment propaganda shattered against reality, where everything you were taught collided with what you actually experienced, hit that subscribe button now. Because what happened to Helga Becker in the days after Germany's surrender reveals something profound about how quickly certainty becomes confusion when ideology meets human nature. The processing takes hours. Medical examinations conducted by female nurses. Delousing. Showers, hot water, actually hot water, the first Helga has experienced in months. Clean clothes issued, basic supplies distributed. Throughout all of it, Helga keeps seeing British soldiers, doing their jobs, professional, efficient, and not one of them does anything that remotely resembles what propaganda promised. The young soldier she noticed earlier, she learns his name is Private James Crawford from somewhere called Lancashire, is assigned to escort groups between processing stations. Every time she sees him, that strange flutter in her chest returns. This is insane. This is dangerous. This is something that absolutely should not be happening. She's a defeated enemy. He's her captor. There's a war. Well, there was a war between them. She should feel fear, or at minimum, resentment. Instead, she feels something else entirely. Something she doesn't recognize. Something that makes her heart race whenever he's nearby. That evening, the women are assigned to a barracks. Basic accommodations, rows of cots, thin mattresses, wool blankets, but it's clean, organized, nothing like the horror scenarios they'd been warned about. Greta sits on the cot next to Helga's. This doesn't make sense. What doesn't? Any of it. The way they're treating us. The food. Did you see the food? Real bread, actual meat, tea with milk. They're feeding prisoners better than the Wehrmacht was feeding soldiers by the end. Ilsa joins the conversation. One of the guards spoke to me during processing, asked if I had family, if I knew whether they were safe. She struggles for words. He seemed to actually care about the answer. They're playing a trick, another woman suggests, making us trust them. Then what? Greta interrupts. The war is over. Germany surrendered. What purpose would deception serve now? The question hangs unanswered. Because if the British aren't deceiving them, then everything they were taught about the enemy was a lie. And if that was a lie, what else was? Helga lies on her cot that night, unable to sleep, not from fear anymore, from confusion, from the strange, unsettling realization that her world has been turned completely inside out in the space of one day, and from the even stranger realization that when she closes her eyes, she sees Private Crawford's face, the concern in his expression, the way he'd helped an elderly prisoner navigate the processing steps, the careful courtesy with which he'd treated everyone. She wasn't ready for the war to end, wasn't ready to become a prisoner, and she definitely wasn't ready for whatever this feeling is that's making her chest feel tight and her thoughts feel scattered. May 10th, 1945. 2 days after surrender, the women are assigned work details, sorting supplies, basic kitchen duties, laundry. Helga is assigned to the supply depot with 5 other prisoners, supervised by, of course it would be him, Private Crawford. He greets them in terrible German. Guten Morgen, ladies. I am sorry. My German is very bad. We will work together today. I will show you what needs doing. His accent is atrocious, but the genuine effort to communicate in their language does something to Helga, makes that strange flutter intensify into something harder to ignore. The work is straightforward, sorting medical supplies, organizing crates, nothing demanding. Crawford works alongside them, not just supervising, but actually helping. At one point, he tries to lift a heavy crate by himself. Helga moves without thinking, helping him with the other side. Their hands brush on the crate handles. Just for a second. But the contact sends something like electricity through Helga's arm. She drops her side of the crate. It hits the ground with a crash that makes everyone turn. "Are you all right?" Crawford asks in English. Then, in his terrible German, "Sind Sie?" "Gut." "I'm fine. Es tut mir leid. I'm sorry." Helga is speaking in a mix of German and English, her brain apparently unable to settle on a language because it's too busy processing what just happened. She touched him, accidentally, and her entire body reacted like she'd been struck by lightning. This is not normal. This is not appropriate. This is absolutely not what should be happening. Crawford picks up the dropped crate with easy strength. "No problem. Is heavy. We work together, yes?" He says it so simply. We work together. As if enemy and captor working together is the most natural thing in the world. During the midday break, the prisoners are given tea and bread. Crawford sits on a nearby crate, eating his own rations, maintaining appropriate distance, but not being cold or distant. Ilsa, whose English is best, asks him a question. "How long have you been soldier?" "Since 1941, 4 years now." He pauses. "Too long?" "I am ready to go home." "Where is home?" "Lancashire, north of England. My father has a farm. I will help him when I am discharged." He looks at the women. "What about you? Where are your homes?" The question is so straightforward, so genuinely curious, that it breaks something in the group's tension. They start talking, cautiously at first, then more openly. Helga finds herself speaking. "I am from Hanover. My father is an engineer. Was an engineer. I don't know if." She can't finish, doesn't know if her family survived the bombing. If her city still exists. Crawford's expression shifts to sympathy. Real sympathy. "I am sorry. This war." He struggles for words. This war was bad for everyone. The simplicity of that statement, the acknowledgement that suffering wasn't exclusive to one side, hits Helga harder than she expects. Tears threaten. She blinks them back furiously. That evening, back in the barracks, Greta confronts her. "All right. What's happening with you and the British private?" "Nothing's happening." "Helga, I've known you for 2 years. I watched you today, the way you look at him, the way you reacted when you touched that crate together. Something is definitely happening." "It's not. I don't—" Helga can't form coherent sentences. "I don't know what's happening. I'm not supposed to feel. I wasn't prepared to feel." "Feel what?" "Anything." The word bursts out louder than intended. Several women look over. Helga lowers her voice. "I wasn't prepared to feel anything except fear and shame. Those are the appropriate emotions for a defeated prisoner. Not this." "Not what?" Helga covers her face with her hands. "I don't even know what to call it. Every time he's near, I can't breathe properly. When he looks at me, I forget how to speak. When we accidentally touched today, I felt like I'd been struck. This isn't normal. This isn't right." Greta is quiet for a moment. Then, gently, "Helga, that sounds like attraction." "No, it can't be. He's British. He's my captor. I'm a prisoner. The power dynamic makes anything impossible. And even if it didn't, he's the enemy." "Was the enemy. The war is over." 3 days ago. The war ended 3 days ago. That's not enough time for him to stop being the enemy. "And yet," Greta says quietly, "apparently it is enough time for you to feel something for him." Helga lies awake again that night, trying to make sense of what's happening to her. She's 21 years old. She's not naive. She's felt attraction before. There was a boy in her university classes before the war, another signals operator during training. But this is different. This is overwhelming. This is consuming in a way that previous attractions weren't. Maybe it's because the circumstances are so extreme. Maybe it's because everything she believed has been shattered in the past 3 days. Maybe it's because Private Crawford represents kindness and humanity when she expected only cruelty. Or maybe, and this is the thought that keeps her awake, maybe propaganda was wrong about more than just how prisoners would be treated. Maybe it was wrong about the enemy being inhuman, about British soldiers being inferior, about the impossibility of seeing anything good in the people you were taught to hate. May 15th, 1945. 1 week after surrender. The routine has become familiar. Work details, meals, evening recreation time. The initial terror has faded into something more complex, an adjustment to captivity that's far more humane than expected. Helga's work assignment hasn't changed. Still the supply depot. Still supervised by Private Crawford, whose terrible German hasn't improved, but whose kindness remains constant. Today, something different happens. During the morning work session, Crawford is teaching Ilse some English phrases. Simple things. Please. Thank you. I don't understand. The other prisoners gather around, interested in learning. Helga hangs back, pretending to organize supplies while actually listening intently. She wants to learn English, wants to understand without needing translation, wants to be able to talk to... She stops that thought forcefully. Wants to talk to Crawford? Why? What would they talk about? What possible conversation could happen between prisoner and guard that would be appropriate? But then Crawford notices her standing apart. Helga? You don't want to learn English? It's the first time he's addressed her directly by name. The sound of her name in his accent does something to her pulse. Yes, I want to learn. Come then. He gestures to the group. I am very bad teacher, but I try. She joins the circle. Crawford points to various objects, giving English words. The prisoners repeat. It's basic, elementary, but it's also the most normal interaction Helga has had in months. Just people learning language together. Nothing about war or sides or enemy or prisoner. When Crawford gets to more complex phrases, he acts them out, making exaggerated gestures that have everyone laughing, including Helga. She's laughing, actually laughing, for the first time since surrender, maybe longer. Crawford catches her eye during one particularly ridiculous pantomime. He smiles, a real smile that reaches his eyes and transforms his serious face into something warm and genuine. And Helga feels something inside her chest crack open, not break. Open, like something that was locked away, is suddenly free. She wasn't ready for this, wasn't ready for laughter, for connection, for this strange, powerful feeling that's making her see Private James Crawford not as a British soldier or her captor, but as just James, a man who's kind, who tries to teach language with patient humor, who looks at her like she matters as a person rather than just a prisoner number. That afternoon, during a moment when they're alone in one section of the depot, Crawford speaks quietly. May I ask something? Personal? Helga's heart immediately starts racing. Yes? Is this very difficult for you? Being prisoner? It's such a gentle question, such genuine concern. Yes, she admits, but not in the way I expected. What do you mean? She shouldn't say this, shouldn't admit anything, but the words come anyway. I expected to be treated badly. I expected cruelty. Instead, she gestures vaguely at the depot, the camp, him. Instead, I find kindness. And that is more difficult to process than cruelty would have been. Crawford nods slowly. The propaganda lied to you. Yes? It lied to us, too. We were told German soldiers were all fanatics, all monsters. But you? He stops, seeming to choose words carefully. You are just people, young people caught in something bigger than you understood. The compassion in his voice is almost too much. Helga feels tears threatening again. I'm sorry, she says suddenly, for the war, for everything Germany did. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I'm sorry. You don't have to apologize to me for the war. You didn't start it. You're just trying to survive it. But I served as a signals operator. You sent messages. You didn't make policy decisions or commit war crimes. You were doing a job, following orders, trying to protect your country. He pauses. That doesn't make you a monster. It makes you human. Something about hearing that, about being told she's human rather than enemy, breaks whatever remaining walls Helga has been maintaining. The tears come. She tries to stop them, mortified that she's crying in front of him. Crawford doesn't look away or become uncomfortable. He simply hands her a clean handkerchief from his pocket. Doesn't try to touch her or comfort her inappropriately. Just offers the handkerchief and gives her space to cry. "I'm sorry," Helga says when she can speak. "This is unprofessional." You're allowed to have feelings. War ending, being prisoner, everything changing. That's... He searches for words. That's very much to process. The kindness in his voice makes Helga cry harder, because she wasn't ready for this, wasn't ready to be seen as human by her captor, wasn't ready for compassion, wasn't ready for the overwhelming realization that this man, this British private who should be her enemy, is one of the kindest people she's ever met. And she definitely wasn't ready for the feeling currently flooding through her. The recognition that this isn't just gratitude or relief or the emotional instability of captivity. This is something else, something deeper, something that terrifies her because it's growing stronger every day. May 22, 1945, 2 weeks after surrender. The camp routine continues, but something is shifting, not just for Helga, for many of the prisoners. The initial fear has transformed into something more complex, an adjustment, an acceptance, and for some, like Helga, a confusion about feelings that shouldn't exist. Greta has been watching her friend with increasing concern. "You need to be careful." "I know." "I don't think you do. The way you look at him now, it's not just attraction anymore. It's deeper, and that's dangerous." "I know that too." "Do you?" "Because you're developing real feelings for your captor. That's a psychological phenomenon. There's probably a name for it. It's not real." "Then why does it feel real?" Helga's voice is sharp. "Why does it feel more real than anything I felt before the war? More real than the propaganda we swallowed? More real than the hatred we were taught?" "Because you're vulnerable. Because he's being kind when you expected cruelty. Because your mind is... My mind is fine. I know what I'm feeling. I know it's inappropriate. I know all the reasons it shouldn't be happening. Knowing that doesn't make it stop." Greta's expression softens. "What are you going to do?" "Nothing." "What can I do?" "In a few weeks or months I'll be repatriated, sent back to Germany. He'll go back to Lancashire and his father's farm. This is temporary. Whatever I'm feeling will fade when circumstances change." But even as she says it, Helga doesn't believe it. This feeling, this overwhelming, consuming awareness of James Crawford, doesn't feel temporary. It feels permanent, like something fundamental has shifted in her understanding of the world. June 5, 1945. Nearly a month after surrender. Helga is in the supply depot when Crawford appears with unexpected news. "I'm being reassigned," he says. "Next week, different post, different duties." The information hits Helga like physical impact. "Oh." "Someone else will supervise this detail. Corporal Matthews. He's a good man. You'll be fine." "Of course." "Yes, that's fine." They stand in the depot, surrounded by crates and supplies, and Helga realizes with painful clarity that she's about to lose something she didn't even know she had. "Helga." Crawford's voice is quiet, serious. "I need to tell you something before I leave." Her heart is pounding. "Yes?" "This month, working with you, it's been..." He struggles for words. "It's been the best part of this entire war. You're intelligent, kind, funny when you let yourself be. And I know I shouldn't say this. I know it's inappropriate, given the circumstances. But I think you're remarkable." Helga can't breathe, can't process what she's hearing. Crawford continues. "I don't know what you've been feeling. Maybe nothing. Maybe I've been imagining things. But I needed you to know that you matter. That this month mattered. That you're not just a prisoner number to me." "James." His first name. She's never said it out loud before. I wasn't ready for you. What? When I saw you that first day? When we started working together, I wasn't ready for you to be kind. I wasn't ready for you to be human. I wasn't ready to feel. She stops, trying to find courage. I wasn't ready to feel what I feel. What do you feel? Everything I shouldn't. Everything propaganda said was impossible. I look at you and I see someone I want to know better. I listen to your voice and I feel safe. You smile and I forget how to breathe. And I wasn't ready for any of it because you're supposed to be my enemy, and instead you're... She can't finish. Instead, I'm what? Instead, you're someone I could love, Helga whispers, given time. Given different circumstances, given a world where prisoner and guard aren't separated by impossible barriers. Crawford is quiet for a long moment. Then, I feel the same way. The admission hangs between them, dangerous, honest, impossible. What do we do? Helga asks. We acknowledge what we're feeling instead of pretending it doesn't exist. We maintain appropriate boundaries because the power dynamic makes anything else wrong. And after you're repatriated, after enough time has passed that you're no longer a prisoner and I'm no longer your guard. He pauses. Maybe we write letters. See if this feeling survives distance and time and all the reasons it shouldn't exist. It's sensible. It's appropriate. It's completely inadequate for what Helga is feeling. But it's also the only possible path forward. Crawford leaves the following week. Helga watches him go, feeling something tear inside her chest. She's repatriated in August 1945, returns to Hanover, to ruins, to a father who survived, but a mother who didn't, to a Germany trying to rebuild from devastation. And she writes to James Crawford, care of his father's farm in Lancashire. The first letter is careful, testing whether the feeling survives separation. His response arrives 6 weeks later, just as careful, just as tentative. But then the letters continue. 1 becomes 10, becomes 50. They write about everything. The mundane details of rebuilding lives, the complexity of processing the war, the strangeness of former enemies corresponding. And through letters, the feeling that started in a supply depot transforms into something undeniable. March 1946. James writes, I'd like to visit Hanover, if you're willing, if enough time has passed that the power dynamic has dissolved. I need to see you outside the context of prison camp, see if what we both felt was real. Helga writes back immediately, Yes, please come. I need to know if I'm remembering correctly. If you're as remarkable as I remember. If what I felt was real or just the product of extraordinary circumstances. He arrives in April 1946. They meet at a cafe in Hanover's partially rebuilt center. It's awkward at first, the echo of their former relationship, the strangeness of meeting as equals. But then they start talking. And Helga discovers something crucial. She wasn't wrong. The feeling wasn't just gratitude or circumstance or psychological vulnerability. James Crawford is exactly as remarkable as she remembered. Kind, intelligent, genuine. And the connection between them hasn't faded. It's intensified. They marry in 1947. James takes a teaching position at a British military school in Germany. Helga completes her education. They build a life together from the wreckage of war. Their children grow up hearing a simplified version. During the war. In a prison camp. It was complicated. The full story, the one they tell each other privately, is about something more profound. It's about not being ready, not being prepared for humanity when you expected inhumanity, not being ready for kindness when propaganda promised cruelty, not being ready for feelings that shouldn't exist, but do anyway. Helga Becker wasn't ready for what she felt when she met James Crawford in May 1945. She fought it, tried to deny it, told herself it was wrong and inappropriate and impossible. But feelings that real don't disappear because they're inconvenient. They persist, they grow, they transform confusion into clarity. 60 years later, Helga would tell her grandchildren, "I wasn't ready for your grandfather. Wasn't ready for the war to end. Wasn't ready to discover that everything I'd been taught was a lie. Wasn't ready to feel what I felt." But you felt it anyway? I felt it anyway. And being unprepared for it made it more powerful, because I couldn't deny it, or control it, or make it fit into appropriate categories. It just existed, real and overwhelming, and completely beyond my ability to manage. And that was good? That was everything. Being unprepared meant I couldn't protect myself, couldn't build walls, couldn't prevent myself from feeling something that transformed my entire life. Their story proved something important, that you can't prepare for the feelings that matter most, that propaganda and ideology and all the rules about who you're supposed to hate fall apart when confronted with actual human connection. Helga wasn't ready, but she felt it anyway. And that unreadiness, that complete lack of preparation for the overwhelming reality of human attraction across enemy lines, became the foundation of everything that followed. Sometimes being unprepared is exactly what's needed. Sometimes the feelings we're least ready for are the ones that matter most. Sometimes not being ready is precisely how we discover what's real. Helga Becker wasn't ready for James Crawford, and that changed everything.